Hi, boys and girls. It's Tuesday, April 28th. We are going to be reading the first part of Chapter 3 today of The Outsiders, as well as going over some plot points. So let's just take a look right here. A few things. Let's take a look at our to-do list. So we have our do now, our vocabulary review, our instructional video, which is where you should be at right now, and our comprehension questions. Make sure that you answer our do now. You're going to put your click into the box and put your answer into there. Then you're going to make sure that you go into our vocabulary review. You're going to hit the link for the Quizlet. You are going to then go ahead and review the vocabulary words. There's 18 terms for Chapter 3. We then have Chapter 3, Part 1 here. Let me fix that for you right now. I haven't even gone on this slide yet. That's where this video will be. Past this video, we have a plot diagram. So if you guys can remember, a plot diagram is the map of the story. It gives us all the information we need to know about the events that make the story. So if you are retelling the story, the things that you would retell. We always start with our exposition, which is our characters and our settings. And then we have our rising action. Our climax is the most important, most exciting part of the story. Then our falling action. We always have conflicts in stories, and they always, hopefully, get resolved in the resolution of the story. So let's take a look real quick right now. Going back off of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, which you finished yesterday, we're able to start our plot diagram. So we have our exposition, a few points on our rising action, and then we do have one conflict noted. So our protagonist is our main character of the story, and the protagonist in the story is Ponyboy Curtis. The antagonist, or the person or force that goes against the protagonist in this story, is the Socias. Okay? Our other characters, so in our greasers, we have Soda Pop and Dari. They are Ponyboy's brothers. We have Johnny, Daly, Steve, and Two-Bit. And then in Chapter 2, we met Cherry Valance, who is a part of the Socias. However, she is now a friend of Ponyboy's. Okay. Again, even though Cherry is she's not necessarily part of the antagonist part of that. Our setting is that this story takes place in the 1960s in a small town in Oklahoma. And then we know our background is that the Curtis boys were recently orphaned. And in order for the two youngest ones, Ponyboy and Soda Pop, not to be taken and put into a home or an orphanage, they must not get into trouble. So we know that Soda Pop and Ponyboy have to stay out of trouble. Dari, who is 20, is now working like a parent and providing for both the boys. We also know that Soda Pop dropped out of school, is working at a gas station with his best friend Steve, and that Ponyboy is a bit different from the rest of the characters, as we know that he's our narrator, he's our main character, and we know that he doesn't want to fight. He's very smart and good at school. He's not quite into girls, and he's definitely just a good overall boy. So our rising action, our first event when we first read in Chapter 1 was that Ponyboy was walking home from the movies at night, and he was jumped by a group of Socias. In paragraph 2, Ponyboy and some of his friends are at the drive-in, and they meet Cherry Valance. If you can remember that Daly was very disrespectful and rude to the Cherry and her friend Marcia, and Johnny stood up for them. Okay, during this time, Ponyboy and Cherry go and to get popcorn, and they have a very intimate conversation where they discuss the differences between the groups, and it helps for each of them to get a glimpse of how their groups are similar, and also about the gangs around town. Okay, and our main conflict so far is man versus man, which is the Socias versus the Greasers. So if you're following along on the PDF, we're on page 33. Chapter 3. After the movie was over, it suddenly came to us that Cherry and Marcia didn't have a way to get home. Two-Bit gallantly offered to walk them home. The west side of town was only about 20 miles away, but they wanted to call their parents and have them come and get them. Two-Bit finally talked them into letting us drive them home in his car. I think they were still half scared of us. They were getting over it, though, as we walked to Two-Bit's house to pick up the car. It seemed funny to me that the Socias, if these girls were any example, were just like us. They liked the Beatles and thought Elvis Presley was out, and we thought the Beatles were rank and that Elvis was tough. But that seemed the only difference to me. Of course, Greasy Girls would have acted a lot tougher, but there was a basic sameness. I thought maybe it was money that separated us. No, Charlie said slowly when I said this. It's not just money. Part of it is, but not all of it. You greasers have a different set of values. You're more emotional. We're sophisticated, cool to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing is real with us, you know? Sometimes I'll catch myself talking to a girlfriend and realize I don't mean half of what I'm saying. I don't think a beer blast on the river bottom is super cool, but I'll rave about one to a girlfriend just to be saying something. She smiled at me. I never told anyone that. I think you're the first person I've ever really gotten through to. She was coming through to me all right, probably because I was a greaser and younger. She didn't have to keep her guard up with me. Rat race is the perfect name for it, she said. We're always going and going and going and never asking where. Did you ever hear of having more than you wanted so that you couldn't want anything else and then started looking for something else to want? It seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could. That was the truth. Socials were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let their real selves show through. I'd seen a social club rumble once. The socials even felt coldly and practically and impersonally. That's why we're separated, I said. It's not money, it's feelings. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And, she was trying to hide a smile, that's probably why we take turns getting our names in the paper. Two-Bit and Marsha weren't even listening to us. They were engaged in some wild conversation that made no sense to anyone but themselves. I had quite a reputation for being quiet, almost as quiet as Johnny. Two-Bit always said he wondered why Johnny and I were such good buddies. You must make such interesting conversation, he said, cocking one eyebrow. You keeping your mouth shut and Johnny not saying anything. But Johnny and I understood each other without saying anything. Nobody but Soda could really get me talking, till I met Cherry Valance. I don't know why I could talk to her. Maybe for the same reason she could talk to me. The first thing I knew, I was telling her about Mickey Mouse, Soda's horse. I had never told anyone about Soda's horse. It was personal. Soda had this buckskin horse, only it wasn't his. It belonged to a guy who kept it at the stable where Soda used to work. Mickey Mouse was Soda's horse, though. The first day Soda saw him, he said, "That's my horse," and I never doubted it. I was about 10 then. Soda is horse crazy. I mean, he's always hanging around stables and rodeos, hopping on a horse every time he gets a chance. When I was 10, I thought that Mickey Mouse and Soda looked alike, and were alike. Mickey Mouse was a dark gold, buckskin, sassy, and ornery, not much more than a colt. He'd come when Soda called him. He wouldn't come for anyone else. The horse loved Soda. He'd stand there and chew on Soda's sleeve or collar. Gosh, the Soda Pot was crazy about that horse. He went down to see him every day. Mickey Mouse was a mean horse. He kicked other horses and was always getting into trouble. I've got me an ornery pony, Soda tell him, rubbing his neck. How come you're so mean, Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse would just chew on his sleeve and sometimes nip him, but not hard. He may have belonged to another guy, but he was Soda's horse. Does Soda still have him? Cherry asked. He got sold, I said. They came and got him one day and took him off. He was a real valuable horse. Poor Quarter. She didn't say anything else, and I was glad. I couldn't tell her that Soda had bawled all night long after they came and got Mickey Mouse. I had cried too, if you want to know the truth, because Soda never really wanted anything except a horse, and he lost his. Soda had been 12 then, going on 13. He never let on to Mom and Dad how he felt, though, because we never had enough money, and usually we had a hard time making ends meet. When you're 13 in our neighborhood, you know the score. I kept saving my money for a year, thinking that someday I could buy Mickey Mouse back for Soda. You're not so smart at 10. You read a lot, don't you, Pony Boy? Cherry asked. I was startled. Yeah, why? She kind of shrugged. I could just tell. I'll bet you watch sunsets, too. She was quiet for a minute after I nodded. I used to watch them, too, before I got so busy. I pictured that, or tried to. Maybe Cherry stood still and watched the sunset while she was supposed to be taking the garbage out. Stood there and watched and forgot everything else until her big brother screamed at her to hurry up. I shook my head. It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw from her patio and the one I saw from the back steps was the same one. Maybe the two different worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset. Marcia suddenly gasped, "Cherry, look what's coming." We all looked. We all looked and saw a blue Mustang coming down the street. Johnny made a small noise in his throat, and I looked at him. He was white. Marcia was shifting nervously. What are we going to do? Cherry bit a fingernail. Stand here, she said. There isn't much else we can do. Who is it? Tuba asked. The FBI? No, Cherry said bleakly. It's Randy and Bob. And, Tuba added grimly, a few other of the socially elite checkered shirt set. Your boyfriends? Johnny's voice was steady, but standing as close to him as I was, I could see he was trembling. I wondered why. Johnny was a nervous wreck, but he never was that jumpy. Cherry started walking down the street. Maybe they won't see us. Act normal. Who's acting? Two-Bit grinned. I'm a natural normal. Wish it was the other way around, I muttered, and Two-Bit said, Don't get mouthy, pony boy. The Mustang passed us slowly and went right on by. Marcia sighed in relief. That was close. Cherry turned to me. Tell me about your oldest brother. You don't talk much about him. I tried to think of something to say about Derry, and shrugged. What's to talk about? He's big and handsome and likes to play football. I mean, what's he like? I feel like I know Soda from the way you talk about him. Tell us about Derry. And when I was silent, she urged me on. Is he wild and reckless like Soda? Dreamy like you? My face got hot as I bit my lip. Derry? What was Derry like? I started to say he was a good old guy, but I couldn't. I burst out bitterly. He's not like Soda Pop at all, and sure ain't like me. He's hard as a rock and about as human. He's got eyes exactly like frozen ice. He thinks I'm a pain in the neck. He likes Soda. Everybody likes Soda. But he can't stand me. I bet he wishes he could stick me in a home somewhere. And he'd do it too, if Soda let him. Two-Bit and Johnny were staring at me now. No, Two-Bit said dumbfounded. No, pony boy. That ain't right. You got it wrong. Gee, Johnny said softly. I thought you and Derry and Soda all got along real well. Well, we don't, I snapped, feeling silly. I knew my ears were red by the way they were burning, and I was thankful for the darkness. I felt stupid compared to Johnny's house. Mine was a heaven. At least Derry didn't get drunk and beat me up or run me out of the house, and I had Soda Pop to talk things over with. And that made me mad. I mean, making a fool of myself in front of everyone. And you can't shut your trap, Johnny Cade, because we all know you ain't wanted at home either, and you can't blame them. Johnny's eyes went round, and he winced as though I belted him. Two-Bit slapped me a good one across the side of the head, and hard. Shut your mouth, kid. If you wasn't Soda's kid brother, I'd beat the tar out of you. You know better than to talk to Johnny like that. He put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. He didn't mean it, Johnny. I'm sorry, I said miserably. Johnny was my buddy. I was just mad. It's the truth, Johnny said with a bleak grin. I don't care. Shut up talking like that, Two-Bit said fiercely, messing up Johnny's hair. We couldn't get along without you, so you can just shut up. It ain't fair, I cried passionately. It ain't fair that we have all the rough breaks. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I was thinking about Johnny's father being a drunk and his mother a selfish slob, and Two-Bit's mother being a barmaid to support him and his kid sister after their father ran out of them, and Daly, wild, cunning Daly, turning into a hoodlum because he'd die if he didn't, and Steve, his hatred for his father coming out in his soft, bitter voice and the violence of his temper. Soda Pop, a dropout so he could get a job and keep me in school, and Derry, getting old before his time, trying to run a family and hold on to 2 jobs and never having any fun. Well, the associates had so much spare time and money that they jumped us and each other for kicks. Had beer blasts and river bottom parties because they didn't know what else to do. Things were rough all over, all right, all over the east side. It just didn't seem right to me. I know, Two-Bit said with a good-natured grin. The chips are always down when it's our turn, but that's the way things are. Like it or lump it. Cherry and Marcia didn't say anything. I guess they didn't know what to say. We had forgotten that they were there. Then the blue Mustang was coming down the street again, more slowly. Well, Cherry said resigningly, they've spotted us. The Mustang came to a halt beside us, and the 2 boys in the front seat got out. They were socials, all right. One had on a white shirt and a Madras ski jacket, and the other a light yellow shirt and a wine-colored sweater. I looked at their clothes and realized for the first time that evening that all I had was a pair of jeans and Soda's old navy sweatshirt with the sleeves cut short. I swallowed. Two-Bit started tucking his shirt tail, but stopped himself in time. He just flipped at the collar of his black leather jacket and lit a cigarette. The socials didn't even seem to see us. All right, boys and girls, that's it for today in Chapter 3. If you want to continue on to finish Chapter 3, you can move on to page 39. Make sure that you answer the questions on our Google slide here. Make sure you just click, answer the question, and then hit submit. Thanks so much, boys and girls. If you have any questions, please send me a message or come to our Zoom meeting.